Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. I know I am double Bombur posting, but I'm going back up for seconds like you know he would. All right, if you didn't click off the video because of that very bad cheesy joke, we're going to be talking about the big cheese man himself, Bombur, his viability specifically at 3 stars. So I want to cover that and whether he is worth investing in, especially if you are a free-to-play player or if you are maybe a very light spender. I want to talk about that sort of perspective here. And to kind of start that discussion, I want to talk about what you need out of him. And you need to have his skills at 4, 6, 6, 6, which I'll come back to in a second here. There's obviously 3 stars here on my free-to-play account. I think you need to basically have him at level 60, gear tier 8. Level 8 glyphs is also very nice. From an arena perspective, I think you can get away with less for the raid perspective, but I think it's probably best to get him to this sort of point. I think the thing that really is key, though, is making sure you get this 4, 6, 6, 6 for his skills. What does that mean? Well, it means you have to get 1,200 ability mats. That's a lot of ability mats. And so I did basically a little back of the envelope type calculation. And if you are farming Guild Chapter 5 and doing the last tier of the ability challenge, you are basically going to be getting you're going to be getting 1,200 ability mats in about 19 days if you're free to play and you don't do any guild refreshes. So just from like normal energy and collecting your bonus energy, no guild refreshes is about 19 days to get him to 4,666. And if you do 1 guild refresh a day, it's about 14 days. So it's 2 weeks to get his skills all the way up, which is a decent amount of time to dedicate to something like, you know, getting Bombur up. So I released a video yesterday talking about how he sort of does against stall teams. He's basically the key for me, especially somebody who doesn't have Thorin's company on this account and doesn't have a 7-star Thorin on my main account. I find that is sort of where I use him the best. And I can do pretty well with him. But outside of Arena, let's talk about Raid, because I think that's also probably the primary motivator for why I wanted to get him up. Outside of Arena, I think Raid is a bigger, more important piece of content than Arena, so let's talk about that. Today, what did I do today? Let's see. So I have like a Ballin, Biffer, sort of like a dwarf mixed team right here. And this does okay, right? I got a gear 5 Ballin, 3, you know, he might be 4 stars now, but he's either 3 or 4 stars. He is 5 going on 6 stars. Just got 6 stars after I finished this run, and he is 3 stars. So this is like a very low star team. I would say doing pretty well in difficulty 3 in chapter 1. I know everybody's like, it's chapter 1, not impressive. Can't even get 900k, but these are 3-star characters for the most part. Biffer being a little bit more than that. But that's, I would say, not bad. All right, let me go. How do I want to do this? Let me just go look at previous scores here. So previous, he'll be in difficulty 2 here. Again, just sort of like this mix of dwarves that I've got going in my free-to-play account. This is okay, 144k in difficulty 2 on the Cave Troll. The dwarves, without like without Keely and without like a decently skilled up Biffer, I think this team probably isn't the best for chapter 2. However, I do think putting Bombur on like any other team is going to be massive. So I think he could slot into many of these different teams here. Somebody, you know, a team that maybe I'm thinking of going from difficulty 2 to difficulty 3, I can slot him in. Maybe I'll try that with DG. Again, he's 3 stars though. I would say this is okay, not the greatest. This is not his strong suit. Definitely brings a team up though. Let's talk about chapter 3 rather. Do the same thing here. Show you what I did last week. 610k. And this is, you know, again, 5-star, 5-star, and then everybody else is 3 stars. That's not bad. That is really not bad. You know, gear 5, they're not that geared. They do have some levels on them. I think Gimli is 60, and Rumel and Ballin and Bombur I think they might all be 60, and I know that helps, but you know, levels basically stars sort of build off of levels, and levels are kind of great when you have more stars. So the more stars you have, the more levels affected, if that makes sense. Even then, this is, I would say, a pretty good score for a majority 3-star team. Chapter 4 is obviously going to be awful. But they managed to go into difficulty 2, and they managed to get 200k. I do think you could probably split this team up and maybe do something where you do take Naramiri off of Rivendell, perhaps, and then put in Balin. I'm not sure. They're already getting 900k, and you can maybe put in Bombur in here to one of these teams, maybe for Strider, perhaps, and then make this team basically go super fast. I think that's... He's very... Basically, the conclusion is he's pretty good in the raids. He's relatively plug and play, and he's going to lift up any team. And so, sort of, before I give you my conclusion about whether he is worth it at 3 stars or not, I want to briefly talk about glyphs, because I skipped over it when we were talking about initial skills. I went 3 times Bloodlust. I think that is better than Last Stand and Bloodlust, because I do find he is often able to get a kill with his special 2. And then he basically goes again, cashes in the 3 sleep stacks, and immediately gets his skills back, which is really, really powerful, especially if you could go basically applying a bunch of slow, right, all over the board. You get the kill, you come back, then you can apply haste to everybody on your side of the squad. Not everybody, it depends on who he's with, but you can apply haste to people on your side of the field, and you just end up lapping people. So that's why I went there. Let me move my camera so you can see. And then I go to focus, and you, unfortunately, you do need the 2 focus primaries here. This is why I think it's probably a good idea to get his glyphs up as well. You just need the focus. The whole point is that he is able to land disrupted, especially for PvP. That's the important one, off a special 1, and then slow in the raids, right? These are the important banes that he needs to land, and you need to land them. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense to be using him. And then I go armor. Just because he is such a low base armor, I just want to kind of bring it up so that you can get some of that armor mitigation. And I think this puts him at around 1,000. Yeah, basically right below 1,000. I think that does pretty well. He's relatively survivable even at 3 stars with this kind of setup. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so basically what my conclusion is, I think if you are somebody who is working towards Thorin, and in the course of that, you are already building dwarves, or even if you aren't working towards Thorin and maybe you just want to get your dwarves up. I know goblins unlock Thorin, but you know, working on Thorin's company, I think this is absolutely an investment you should make even at 3 stars, because then when he does become farmable, you've already got this all basically mapped out. You just have to farm his stars, and then he's going to become very, very good. Even at 6 stars on my main account, I think he's really good. I think he's only going to get better at 7 stars. So I'm actually very excited for that. So that's sort of my conclusion. If you are already farming for Thorin, and you're thinking about this, I think he works overall. If you're going for dwarves, I think he works overall. He is relatively plug and play, but I am hesitant to kind of say, oh, you should just get him up for arena. I don't know if that's worth it. I think he really helps on stall teams. Maybe you'll think it's worth it when Rumel becomes farmable and people just putting Rumel, Elrond, like Rivendell teams on defense all over the place. But definitely if you're farming the dwarves. If not, think about it a little bit more. But I just wanted to make a quick video talking about the viability at 3 stars. Great in arena, great in raids. I think he was a good investment. And now that I know that it was basically on this account, because I do 1 guild refresh, about 2 weeks of guild farming to get the mats. That really is back of the envelope sort of calculation. I think that that's probably worth it. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.